All right, it's good to see each and every one of you. Thank you much for being here. To our visitors, we appreciate much your coming to be with us, and we want you to come back each and every time that you are afforded the opportunity. Now, in the lesson, I'm going to have to go pretty fast. Hopefully, there'll be a little time left over at the end for questions, comments, observations. And so then I'm waiting to see a WS. It's coming up, we're told. When I see the WS, we shall start. We're in Daniel chapter 3. I got it on a jump drive if you need it. Oh, it's behind me. I don't see it there. All right, so I can go ahead. All right, we're talking about Daniel chapter 3. The story of Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego being thrown in the fiery furnace. Now, what are the purposes of the book? To show God rules in the affairs of men. You're going to see a little of that here. To show the future of God's people. Not a whole lot of that here. But to show we must be dedicated to God, a lot of it in this chapter. We're going to see. So it deals with Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Will they take a stand for God? They stood up, they stood out, and they made a difference. And you and I can do the same thing. Now, here's what they were building on and what they had to realize, and one reason they were in captivity. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God. There is a correct form of jealousy. And we need to realize that God is a jealous God. Now, in Jeremiah 18:15, it says, because my people have forgotten me, they have burned incense to vanity. That's false gods. And they have caused them to stumble in their ways from the ancient paths, to walk in paths in a way not cast up. Now, I want you to notice that Nebuchadnezzar is a man of great pride. We're going to see that more in chapter 4 when God says, hey, it's time for you to eat grass. And his pride, I'm convinced, got the best of him. He saw that tremendous vision in Daniel 2 of that huge image of which he was the head of gold. Well, if that huge image is there and I'm the head of gold, maybe I need to make one of those. That could very well have been his thought. Notice Daniel 2, 37 and 38. Thou, O king, art the King of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. So with his pride, he made a huge image that stood 90 feet tall and was 9 feet wide, and the people were to bow to it when they heard the instruments. Now, if you miss this, as I tell some of the students in my class in school, through the window you go, what is the obvious question that should be asked in Daniel chapter 3? What? Where's Daniel? Exactly. Where in the world is Daniel? Now, this shows inspiration to a tremendous degree. If I'm writing the book of Daniel, Daniel's one of the heroes, guess who's going to be here? Daniel's definitely going to be here. But you see, inspiration moved the writer, Daniel, to write it the way it occurred. Now, where is Daniel? I don't know. Why isn't he there? I don't know. But one thing I do know, he's not there, for if he was there, he wouldn't be bending, bowing, or burning either, just like these men. Now, notice who all he's going to ask to come to the dedication of this image. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold whose height was 80 cubits, that's 18 inches, so that would be 90 feet, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits, that'd be 9 feet. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the princes, watch who all's invited, the governors, the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Who's left out of importance? No one. But where's Daniel? I don't know. Was he on a mission for the king? Could very well have been. Now, Garland Elkins, a great gospel preacher, was working with a man who loved Pat Boone. Pat, in case you don't know, at one time was a faithful member of the church. But he went off the deep end, and Garland was trying to show this fella he had gone off the deep end. And he asked Garland if he'd go hear Pat speak. He is kind of like the Freedom Hall, place like that. It wasn't a worship service. And Garland thought, well, if I don't go hear him, he's going to say I wouldn't even give him a fair hearing. So I'll go with him. And Garland was taking notes of all the things Pat said that was wrong and was going to study with this guy. Well, when Pat got through, everybody in the building stood and applauded. Garland didn't stand up. That put pressure on his friend not to stand up. And then his friend said to Garland, why don't we stretch? To which Garland said, this is the wrong time to stretch. And boy, that was true. We don't stand up and we don't stretch at this time because we're not going to applaud or show any kind of reverence to a false teacher. In Daniel 3, 4, and 5, then a herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There's a penalty that's going to be heaped upon anybody that will not worship this image. You're going to be destroyed. You're going to be cast into a burning fiery furnace. Now, this is not the first time that he's come up with such. In Jeremiah 29, 21, and 22, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, of Ahab. Now, that's not the one that married Jezebel. This is another man. The son of Koleah, and of Zedekiah, the son of Amaziah, which prophesied a lie unto you in my name. Behold, I will deliver them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, same king, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and he shall slay them before your eyes. And of them shall be taken up a curse by all the captivity of Judah, which are in Babylon, saying, the Lord make thee like Zedekiah and like Ahab, whom the king of Babylon roasted in the fire. Now that could be an exaggeration to make a point that this man don't have much respect for life. You don't do what Nebuchadnezzar says, you're a dead man. That's basically what it means. Now you remember the story of Zedekiah. The king Nebuchadnezzar had his boys, his sons, put to death right in front of him. And then had Zedekiah's eyes punched out. Now that's the kind of king that we're talking about. You think he won't carry out this penalty? You're wrong. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshiped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar, the king, had set up. Wherefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. They spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, shall fall down and worship the image. And whoso falleth not down and worship, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Now, someone is watching your life. Someone is watching my life. And we see the Chaldeans were watching the life of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And one thing they noticed when the music sounded and everybody went down, 3 remained standing. Well, the Chaldeans go to the king and say to him, you have issued a commandment that at the sound of the music, everybody bows and everybody worships your golden image, but you've got 3 in the kingdom that's not doing that. So this is the first time he had heard of it. And look at the pressure that would be on a person if he had to be one of the 3 standing. I don't know where you've ever been one of the few that had to take a stand by yourself practically, but it's not fun. But if it's for the right cause, it's the right thing to do. And these men knew they were doing the right thing. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Can you imagine when they come to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and say, the king wants to see you? Well, you know what it's about. And you know that it's not going to turn out that good, probably. So I know my wheels would be turning. Now, what am I going to tell him? How am I going to address this issue? Nebuchadnezzar spake unto them, is it true? You got to love him for this. He wants to know if it's true. O Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up. Don't you do that? Now notice, he's going to give them a second chance. Don't you love a second and third chance? Oh, watch him. Now, if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made, well, this is over. All you got to do when you hear the music is fall down. But if you worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? You know, that sounds like Pharaoh. Moses and Aaron go to Pharaoh and say, God said, let his children go. Pharaoh said, in essence, who is God? That I should listen to him. And God gave him a 10-course lesson on who he was with those 10 plagues, so that Pharaoh would never forget who the true and living God was. Well, Nebuchadnezzar is fixing to get one of those lessons. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. What? If that would have been you and me, oh, we'd have probably been as careful as we could be, because we don't want to answer this thing in a way that we're going to die. But they said, we're not careful to answer you in this matter. They'd already made up their mind what they were going to do. If it be so, in other words, if you throw us in the furnace, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. If you throw us in the furnace, we want you to know that the God we serve is able to deliver us out of your hand and deliver us out of that furnace. But if not, what if he doesn't? Be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Listen, Nebuchadnezzar, the God that we serve has no problem with delivering us out of a fiery furnace. He is that powerful. But if he chooses not to, we want to deliver you a message. We're still not going to bow down to your image. So we're not going to bow either way. If God delivers us, we're not going to bow. If he doesn't deliver us, we're still not going to bow. Boy, that made Nebuchadnezzar mad. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was wont to be heated. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. You're not going to bow when you hear the music? That's what you think. And he commanded the greatest men he had in his army, bind them. And I want you to heat that furnace hotter than it's ever been heated, and I want you to throw them in that furnace. Well, they're going to do, the soldiers, what Nebuchadnezzar has commanded. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Leave all the clothes on them. They'll burn better. Bind them so one of them won't look up and come out of it somehow partially burnt. So they're going to be bound. Now, one thing we're going to see in a moment, when they're not hurt, somehow they become unbound. Either the fourth one in the furnace loosed them, or those bindings burned and didn't hurt them a bit. One or the other. And it's probably that the protector loosed them and set them free. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Can you imagine a furnace that's so hot that the men that's getting close to the furnace to throw them in, they die from heat exposure? That's how hot it is. So, old Nebuchadnezzar, he got the furnace red hot. There's no doubt about that. And it killed some of his own men. Now, some men die on that occasion, but it's not Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, if you'll look on this drawing, you see men laying in front of the furnace. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego standing in there. In a moment, you'll see a fourth one. God's protection. These three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Notice they were bound when they fell down. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astonished and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast three men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see four men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. Now, I had a man 3 years ago call me long distance, wanting to know how Nebuchadnezzar knew that this fourth one looked like the Son of God. Well, number one, various truths had been revealed to him, and God could have revealed it. Number two, there's no proof it was the Son of God. If you look probably on your footnotes in your Bible, it will say Son of Gods. Anybody got that footnote? Son of Gods. This man believed in many gods. We're going to see a little bit later, and I'll produce the scripture, where he said an angel did it. Well, was it the Son of God? Was it an angel? Who was it? Well, we don't know except to say it was divine help sent there by God Almighty, that Nebuchadnezzar did not get his way. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth, come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth out of the midst of the fire. Now I want you to notice this verse. This is verse 28. And here Nebuchadnezzar is not going to say the Son of God delivered these men, but he's going to say an angel did it. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him. So this verse says an angel did it. Well, which is true? The Son of God, an angel? Well, we contend that we don't know, but I know this, that later in chapter 6, an angel is going to deliver Daniel from the lion's den, and this may well have been an angel. Nebuchadnezzar is an uninspired man making these statements. Now, the atheist in hell. The atheist will say, there cannot be a hell as described in the Word of God. And we say, why? And they'll say, use common sense. Hell is said to be a lake of fire. And if you throw somebody into a lake of fire, what's going to happen? Consumed just like that. I was doing electrical work one time in a steel plant, and there's big vats there, and nothing but liquid steel below me, bubbling red hot. And I was working just about right over it on the side. Now, if I would have fallen in there, and by the way, you're talking about heat. I had to come down every now and then just to get fresh air because it was hot. Now, if I would have fallen, say I would have passed out from heat exhaustion and fallen in there, you know how much of me you would have found? None. Absolutely none. Well, that's what the atheists say. That's what's going to happen if God puts somebody in hell. No. Do you know God was able to set a bush on fire and it not be consumed? Moses saw it. So then you think God would be able to place one in a hell that could be called a lake of fire and him not be consumed? Do you think he could take care of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in a furnace so hot it killed those that put people in it, and yet those men not be consumed? God can do just exactly what he says he's going to do. And you and I need to realize that, and the atheists better learn it. And the princes and the governors and the captains and the kings, counselors being gathered together, saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. The story I'm about to tell you is true. No names have been changed to protect anybody that's innocent. Now, I'm guessing the age. When I was about 13 or 14 years of age, Mom took me to get a haircut. And the barber looked at me and said, you know you're losing your hair? I said, yes, sir. He said, I can fix that for you. I said, you can? I said, if you can fix it, fix it. Now, I wasn't that concerned. I'm one of those weirdos that likes being bald-headed. So that don't bother me. So he said, I can fix it. So the next thing I knew, he had a newspaper rolling it up. And he set it on fire. And he started doing to my hair what that guy's doing to his hair, going all over it. And he'd take that comb, buddy, and he wouldn't catch on fire, and he singed every hair. He said, you know why I did that? No, sir. I would have loved to have had a camera to see my face when I could see in the mirror what he was doing to me. And I probably was sitting there, scared to death. Now, you got to have a lot of faith in your barber to let him do that. You know, why don't you jump out of the chair, you might say. He said, now, you know why I did that? No, sir. He said, the hair is like a straw, and it's got oil and nutrients in it. But after you cut it, they leak out. I just sealed up the ends of all yours. Your hair will be preserved and you will not go bald. Now, question, and I want you to be honest. Did it work? It didn't work. So, I didn't read the article why this guy's doing this man's hair like that, probably the same reason. But I went out and got in a car. And Mother, Wesley, I want you to check the car. It's running hot. I said, Mom, the car's not running hot. She'd been sitting there 15, 20 minutes. Wesley, you got to check the car. If I burn the motor up, Jack will be upset. Now, you've got to check the car. I said, Mom, I'm telling you, the car is not running hot. She said, well, we got an electrical problem. There's something burning in here. She said, can't you smell that? I said, yeah, I smell it. Well, look around and see if you can see what's burning. I said, Mom, nothing's burning. She said, something is burning. I said, there's nothing burning. Well, then what is it? I said, it's me. She said, you? I said, it's my hair. Your hair? I said, yeah. Then I told her what the barber did, and she was just as shocked probably as I was when he started that. So, but here's my point. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of that furnace, you didn't smell any smoke on them. Their hair was not singed. Not at all. Did you go back to the same barber? Yeah, Don, I did. And I found out later, Don, he was a member of the church. He meant nothing but good. That's all he meant. Now, you know the cape they put around you? You know, he's got that newspaper on fire. If that thing would have caught on fire, I didn't know, you know, this drop row and all that junk. Mom would have probably seen me come out the door, vroom, as fast as I could be running. That guy's got a towel around his shoulders, you know. But yes, I went back to the same barber, and he was a good one. He really was. Some of his methods didn't work. All right. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and hath changed the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree, notice his decree, that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there's no other God that can deliver after this sort. Verse 30, then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego in the province of Babylon. Now sometimes when I hold gospel meetings, I preach on this chapter, and I entitle it, A Hard Way to Get a Promotion. They got a promotion, but boy, they had to go through a whole lot to get that promotion. They had to demonstrate they loved God, they were going to put God first, and they were not going to worship any image no matter what the price. Eddie Fish. Yes. Now, Eddie, I thought about that. Where is Daniel? Daniel has already demonstrated to him that his God, is the God that interprets dreams, that does this, that, and the other. It may be he excused Daniel because of that. It didn't really tie Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in that closely with Daniel's God. You see what I mean? I don't know where Daniel was, but that's a good comment. Anybody else? Okay, Ken. 3 men went in, 3 men came out. Where's the 4th one today? That's right. The 4th one was there to protect them, but he didn't come out. He'll be there when we're in the fire. Yeah, that's right. That 4th one was there when they needed him. And the 4th one either untied them or God let the fire go ahead and burn loose the ropes or whatever they were bound with without hurting them or putting the smell of smoke on them. The deciding factor that I've always seen is he was there for them in the fire because they were with him before the fire. Yes. You can't wait till you're in the fire to, where is he? Where is he? Like my hair's on fire. Absolutely. Ken, I often say that sometimes we use prayer as a fire escape. We rarely pray until we're in trouble. Oh, God, now please help me. We can't do that. We got to be, like you say, with God before the fire. And then when the fire comes, expect God to help us because he promises he's going to be there. Even in death, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'm not by myself. All right, anybody else? Any comment? All right.
It's pretty much what you are saying. Obviously faith in God, it unbinds, it protects us, and we shine our light. And then the second thing, you burnt that hair off and keep the nutrients in. I think it must be the junk food you ate then. You lost it.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah, oh well. Don asked the most embarrassing question. Did you go back? Yes, I did. I went back. All right. Thank you for your kind attention. Next week, chapter 4, Lord willing.